Today on the news and why it matters, experimental drugs hold promising results for treating the coronavirus, and Ilhan Omar endorses President Trump's actions. Has hell frozen over? Also, Tulsi Gabbard suspends her presidential campaign and endorses Joe Biden, who does not appear to be okay at all. We've got a lot coming up, and it starts right now. Welcome to the news and why it matters. I am Sarah Gonzalez, today joined in studio, two guests in studio once again. We've got Josh Hammer, syndicated columnist Josh Hammer, who thank you very much for risking your life to come and be in studio with us. Also, very big thank you to Jaco Booyens, who is also risking his life to come be in studio.
Huge risk, Sarah. Huge risk.
I mean, yeah.
Well, we're keeping it small. As you can see, we're keeping distance. We have certain protocols in place to make sure that we are still being safe, but we got to deliver you the news, right? So President Trump today held a press conference where he asked the FDA to lift the rules and bureaucracy to combat COVID-19, also known as the Chinese virus. There are a couple different experimental drugs that scientists are working with. There is one that is an antiviral therapy called remdesivir. Am I saying that right? Mm-hmm. Okay. And it is thought to work by blocking the virus from reproducing itself in the body. There are also a couple other drugs that are being used with positive results, one being azithromycin, which is also commonly known as a Z-Pak. Another one is used to treat malaria. Now, the FDA Commissioner, Stephen Hahn, said that the FDA is going to work to make sure that the products are still safe and effective, because once you say, hey, you got to relax your rules so we can try these things, people go, oh, okay, but what if you're not supposed to use it for that and there are unintended consequences later on down the road? Hahn said that though the right drug may be available, without the right dosage, the drug may do more harm than good, and that the FDA is exploring drugs that are already approved for other indications. Josh, what are your thoughts on making these drugs available to try?
My thought is that the FDA is probably one of the most underappreciated harmful agencies out there. I've been saying this literally since like middle school or high school. I had a buddy from high school, one of my best friends from childhood, who is like a pretty small government guy. He told me, let's just get rid of the FDA in its entirety and slap strict liability on these pharmaceutical companies so that if they give you a bad product, you sue them into oblivion. Like, how is that not like a very simple and elegant solution? I mean, I'm exaggerating a little bit, yeah. But look, one thing that Trump did very well in his handling of this horrible crisis was he let it so that the FDA could allow pharma companies to experiment for their own tests. Yeah. He could have done it probably a little earlier on if we're trying to be fair, but he did do it to his credit. Why is that not the norm? Like, why are pharma companies not allowed to do this on their own? Like, that is a ridiculous regulation. That should be the norm going forward. Great news, of course. You know, I saw a headline from maybe it was like a week or two ago. There's a small farm facility way up in like northern Israel near like the Syrian or Lebanese border that apparently is like very, very close to developing their own cure. At the time, the Ayatollah in Iran was kind of going back and forth about whether he would even like allow this Israeli drug to be used for his Iranian population. Obviously, they're not a huge fan of the Jews over there in Iran. But how wonderful would that be for the BDS Jew-hating schmucks across the country if Israel of all countries were to create this virus or this vaccine to solve this? But in any event, let's stick to the domestic right now. Good job for Trump. This has to be the norm going forward, though. Like this regulation that is apparently was precluding pharma companies from developing these tests. Gut it. Eviscerate it. Makes no sense.
Yeah.
Jaco.
Can I share something?
Please.
All right. So chloroquine is the drug that fights malaria.
Malaria, yes.
76 years we've been using this drug against malaria. If you take chloroquine today and you don't have malaria, no side effects, does nothing to you. It exists. There's ample study, if in fact Dr. Brixt is right, that it does eliminate corona. I'd much rather take a drug that's been on the market, that Americans have used, versus some new cockamamie vaccine that comes from who knows where. If it comes from Israel, I'll trust it. No, because I'm part Jewish. If it comes from Israel, I'll trust it. But if it's going to come from Europe or China, no, don't put that in my body. I think it's smart. He said when he started his campaign to run for president, I'm going to deregulate this country. We need to deregulate. The FDA has harmed this country at times. There's solutions for illnesses in this country, particularly in cancer, that they've blocked, right? So I'm not on the FDA bandwagon.
Yeah.
So I'm for Trump asking them, hey, relax the purse strings a little bit here. We need to do some work. But they're going to find things that's already on the market, because this thing runs parallel with the flu. It's got similarities. It's upper respiratory. It's not like it's something we've never seen ever. And let's take a drug that's already existing.
And just to kind of highlight the point that I think both of you are making, which is there's way too much red tape when you get the FDA involved in everything. I think it was President Trump who signed the Right to Try Act that came out. And it was appalling to me. I had an uncle that died from ALS, and it was just appalling to me that you had these, companies who said, we want to be able to try this drug. We've gone through phase 1. It's had good results. These people are given a death sentence anyway. Why not just let them try? If they consent and say, yeah, I want to try the drug, what other choice do I have? I'm going to either die or I might live. And maybe there are unintended consequences, but I'd like the right to try to live. Yeah. And he had to, before he signed that, you're not allowed to do that.
It was an executive order.
Oh, that's right.
It was an executive order. He had to go that far to say, wait a minute. We're in a dire situation for an individual. Give them the right to fight and to try. And if a company is willing to innovate, and I'm telling you, if he does this, Josh, we're going to see incredible advancement in American medicine. You watch, because we got great companies in this country. We're innovating like crazy in
We have the best innovators, the best scientists, the best pharmaceutical researchers in the entire world. All they need to do is get the government off their back. But the broader point here, which I think all three of us are actually making, I think the FDA is an underappreciated target of conservatives' collective ire. A lot of us kind of like wag fingers at the EPA, Department of Education. To be clear, those are worthy targets, I think, of our frustration. They should be severely minimized. The FDA for decades has gotten away with this, though. It's really terrible. And like the right to try example is the quintessential example of them all. It is hold aside like efficiency and economics. It is fundamentally immoral and unjust, I would say, for the government to preclude someone with ALS who is dying to not have access to potentially cutting-edge life-saving medicine. That is a violation of the social contract at its core.
I'll tell you this. There's a doctor. You can look him up. Dr. Mnuchin, okay? Israel, okay? In Hebrew Institute in Jerusalem, Israel. He has literally spoken to the FDA for years about results in Alzheimer's and cancer. That they've made, and they get blocked. They always get blocked. It is practically impossible to get the FDA to approve new drugs. It is extremely expensive, time-consuming. You need to lay a decade down, about 10 years, and multi-millions of dollars to get a drug approved. And so we need to loosen that up, because we are not the leader in world medicine, not because we don't have the innovators, because of the FDA.
Yeah, because of the red tape. Josh, we last spoke with you on Monday remotely. What's your sense of how, things have changed since Monday?
He's here.
He is. We talked him into coming. But how do you feel like President Trump has handled all of this coronavirus craziness since we last visited on Monday?
I think he's done a generally good job. This daily press conference is basically going well. I'm not sure how much longer that the people will want a daily press conference with the president, but for now, I'm still enjoying it. On Fox News I was watching earlier, he was kind of talking to all the governors of the states. He seemed to be kind of in it and paying close attention, which for Trump is always a good thing. Yeah. No, I think he's handling himself very well. Look, I think from a policy perspective, his head is generally in the right place right now. I tend to be cautious in this environment. I don't think that we should expect the government to underreact. I err on the side of overreacting. I'm slowly getting woke as to whether or not that's always a good thing.
We're going to pull you over to our side.
But for now, I'm resisting the tinfoil hat stuff, and I'm erring on the side of overreaction. But look, he's talking about delaying mortgage payments for homeowners. These are basic common sense steps now. He's not acting outside of his lawful authority. He has delegated his authority already by the Congress. This is basic common sense stuff that he should be doing.
But isn't it that basic common sense, because once you force businesses to shut down, you have to then give them something to work with, right?
Don't pull me over, Sarah.
I'm just saying. Jaco, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, look, I'm never one for leaning towards overreacting, okay? This has been, look, I'm not, for the record, saying the virus is not a serious illness, but we've blown this thing out of proportion. The math just doesn't line up with the reaction. There's just no way. We can look at common flu this year. Heck, I've got numbers for you on more, 22 veterans committed suicide in the last 2 days. I mean, come on. When you start really talking about life and the value of life, the numbers don't add up. Okay.
The most unfortunate part, I think, of this whole situation is, Josh, you're saying I err on the side of overreacting for right now, and you're saying the opposite, Yaku. But when it's all said and done, if we've already overreacted, how do we know? Let's say that we contain it.
Right.
Credit is going to be given to the overreaction,
Absolutely.
but we don't know that that's really what solved the problem.
Yeah, do you know what it kind of reminds me of? It kind of reminds me of like the soybean farmers in Iowa who were hurt from the various tariff wars and then were given like subsidy bailouts. And it's like, okay, well, we kind of caused this problem and then we have to fix it on the back end.
Right.
Here's what I will say. This Imperial College of London study that apparently is like the be-all, end-all study that everyone in Washington is relying upon. It's like, it was projecting like 2 to 3 million American deaths, I think.
It's BS.
Yeah, it is a deeply flawed study. Okay, apparently that group that put out that research is funded by the Qataris, which is like a severe enemy of the United States. There's a radical there named Jeremy Grantham, I think is his name, who's like a George Soros-esque climate, like greeny environmental nut job. There were some, and here's the problem. The problem is that a lot of people in the so-called shallow state who are in Trump's inner orbit, I think are part of the same kind of globalist neoliberal set that would subscribe to that study. I'm not going to like point fingers, but like Steve Mnuchin, classic example of that. Ex-Wall Street guy. It strikes me as the kind of guy who would be very gullible and willing to believe anything like that's put in front of him. So that is the closest I'm going to get right now to the tinfoil hat stuff, but I'm slowly being awokened.
That's
pulling
good.
him over, Yaku.
I'm so glad you're here. It's happening. Look, I think he's doing a good job. I think he's being cornered every day. They're trying to corner the guy. They're pushing him in a corner. They're
going to criticize him no matter what he does.
No matter what. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. He could get a cure for cancer tomorrow, and they're going to find a way to blame him for it. But I hope that those in his orbit today are leaning towards the side of less regulation, less overreaction, because there are nations that's actually leaning towards letting the human body build antibodies to this virus, and it's working in the decline. And I think we're going to be able to draw the parallel and say, okay, a place in the world that overreacted versus a place that didn't, right? And I think you're going to look at those curves and see maybe the overreaction is not the way to go.
All right, coming up, as Josh mentioned, Steve Mnuchin, he actually confirmed that Americans will be getting those $1,000 checks. We will get into that and a lot more. But first, we want to thank our sponsor, Ruff Greens. So, all of you dog owners out there, I know you love your dog, right? We're here in America where our dogs are our family. We don't eat them like some other countries. And you want to invest in your dog's health. You buy this really expensive dog food and you're thinking, I'm really doing what is best for my dog's health. Well, here's the problem if you're getting dry dog food is that they actually kill all of the good nutrients, the enzymes, the probiotics, everything good in that dry dog food. They're killing to give it a 2 to 3 year shelf life, because they're sterilizing it. You don't realize it. The dogs need all of those nutrients back in their food. If you really, really want to see your dog thrive, you got to try Ruff Greens. We have this for our dog as well. We have a 7-month-old Doberman puppy, and she absolutely loves it. I know Glenn's dog was a really picky eater as well. He actually just gulps down his food now whenever you sprinkle Ruff Greens on it. So I did say sprinkle. It is not a dog food. It doesn't replace your current dog food. It's a supplement. So you sprinkle it on top of the dog's food. It puts back all of the probiotics, the nutrients, the enzymes that they are missing out on from that dry dog food. So if you would like to see your dog thrive, order Ruff Greens today. You can go to ruffgreens.com/blaze. Take the Ruff Greens 14-day Jumpstart Challenge today. It is $14.95. That's it. You will see the difference in your dog in 14 days or less. I did. You're going to see it too. Go to ruffgreens.com. That is ruffgreens.com/blaze. Stephen Mnuchin confirms the plan for $1,000 cash payments to all Americans. He said that we could all get $1,000 checks within 9 weeks. And the $1 trillion package, just $1 trillion, that's fine. I mean, once you're so in debt and there's so much deficit, who's really keeping track anyway? This will provide every adult American with a $1,000 check plus another $500 for each child that they have. Here is a little bit of what Mnuchin had to say today.
The second component, and I refer to this as checks in the mail, but it's really money direct deposited. Most people, we have all their information. And the plan is $500 billion in two tranches. The first one would be $1,000 per person, $500 per child. So for a family of four, that's a $3,000 payment. As soon as Congress passes this, we'd get this out in 3 weeks. And then 6 weeks later, if the president still has a national emergency, we'll deliver another $3,000. So that's a lot of money to hardworking Americans who are at home, no fault to theirs.
Now, that is only half of the bill that they passed. That's only half of the bill's overall spending. Another $300 billion in the bill would be used to help businesses keep people on payroll and offer loan forgiveness for those that do after the crisis ends. And then already unemployment claims have shot up by 33%. After the first 2 weeks of March. Oh, and then $200 billion would be used to secure lending to airlines and other critical industries hit hard by the pandemic. I've only heard about the airlines, though. Have either of you heard any other specific industries? No. I've just heard airlines.
Restaurants.
Well, it would be interesting to see bars, restaurants. I mean, even some retail stores that are considered non-essential are forced to be closed. So it'd be interesting to see which industries get involved and which industries get left out. Josh, what are your thoughts on this $1,000 payment?
So a lot to break down here. Let's start with the airline, the bailout part, actually. So there's one thing that's obviously very scary, which is the fact that people in Congress, the administration, are literally picking which industries potentially to bail out. That's kind of the quintessential picking of winners and losers that the Tea Party kind of railed against in 2010. Having said that, I do have one point to make. I think that a bailout here is not just different in scope, but different in kind than what we saw in 2008, 2009. The difference is that, and this is going back to my days when I was back in college and studying economics, there's a concept called moral hazard in insurance. A moral hazard is basically when you bail someone out for something that he or she should have readily foreseen. When we bailed out the banks and even the auto industry in 08 and 09, that was a kind of run-of-the-mill financial crisis that led to a traditional macroeconomic recession. That's the kind of thing those companies should have foreseen. Here, if we're believing the statistics, we are talking about a once-a-century pandemic. Not really the kind of thing that if you're kind of planning a business that you can foresee. So I don't have a theoretical kind of philosophical objection to those kind of bailouts per se. Talking about the $1,000 a month payments. So let's call a spade a spade. This is Keynesianism, okay? Like this is traditional kind of left-leaning liberal economic policy. Within the realm of Keynesian economic policy, every economist worth his salt would tell you that literally handing out cash is the most efficient way to do this, as opposed to kind of like trimming around the tax code or earned income tax credits or even like wage subsidies. So within the realm of demand-side stimulus, this is the most efficient and probably effective way of doing it. Here's the problem. The problem is that you stimulate the demand side, there's no supply because everything's shut down. So you're giving people cash. Where are they going to spend this cash? Okay, like they're going to go online, right? So like if I were investing right now, I would buy Amazon, Netflix, all the places that people are going to use this money online. But they're certainly not going to go use that cash to bail out the mom and pop shop down the street because the mom and pop shop down the street is closed. So it's kind of a catch-22 here. I mean, I'm happy the administration is doing something. I wonder if they've truly thought it out though.
Yeah, look, we're moving fast, right? And a lot of things are happening fast. That's why I was talking about the advice the president is getting. I think this is going to have an effect come election time. This very issue, particularly in the lower income class, they're going to remember. They're going to remember what this president did for them as about cash in hand. Something very interesting, though, in the restaurant industry, Ray Washburn, who's a Texan, who's a Dallas guy, owns most of the Micasinas, was on the news this morning saying, here's an issue they have. Their insurance does not cover a pandemic. So all the restaurant insurance they have to cover lack of business, employment, firing all these people, temporary workers are being fired, right? It's not covered. So they're pushing really hard, the unions, the restaurant union is pushing really hard to get insurance to cover it. And they're asking government to backstop that with insurance companies. That makes sense to me because, I mean, nobody could foresee this. Not even the insurance companies could foresee this kind of a pandemic. So there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of things, but there's also great solutions. Ray had a great solution. It's like, look, let's backstop this. I'm not asking for a handout. I have insurance. You know, let me just be able to claim on the insurance to pay my employees or to keep the restaurants open, et cetera. But as far as the cash in the mail, yeah, I think we can. I agree with you. Historically, it's proven that's the most effective way to do it. But there's political spillover over this that I think is positive for the administration. Yeah. I really do.
Representative Ilhan Omar, obviously a huge critic of President Trump. Now, I present this story to you guys. I bring it to the table. I'm a little bit cautious because I don't know what to make of this. She actually praised President Trump's leadership as incredible and the right response at this critical time. Now, she was talking about President Trump's decision to invoke the Defense Production Act. She retweeted someone else's tweet and said, politics aside, this is incredible and the right response at this critical time. And then she went on to say, Ayanna Pressley, that is the Ringo of the squad, Ayanna Pressley always says, unprecedented times require unprecedented leadership, and we are seeing that in our country right now. I have faith that we will survive this as a nation and build together. Finally, we should never let politics get in the way of good policy. This is a great start, and hope others will be part of a united front to push for good policies that will help us work through the economic anxiety the country is feeling right now. When I hear that Ilhan Omar is good with the economic policies that are being put forth by the president, I don't know how that makes me feel, Josh.
Yeah, I mean, as the Jew here, I'm not sure that I want to be with Ilhan Omar either, right? You know what this reminds me of, actually? It reminds me of Barack Obama did a White House Correspondents' Dinner back in like 2013 or 2014. I think it was Ted Cruz's first piece of legislation that he got enacted into law was he banned the new Iranian ambassador to the United Nations from actually coming to New York City because he was involved with the hostage taking in 1979. Obama signed that into law, and he made a joke about this at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, where he played a little montage of him signing the bill into law with Cruz looking over his shoulder, and then like the devil flew in from out of nowhere and hell froze over. So like, this feels like hell freezing over, right? I mean, Ilhan Omar agreeing with Donald Trump. You know, look, when she's right, I guess. Give her credit. Give credit where credit's due. We're trying to be fair, trying to be balanced, I guess. But it's crazy. That is not a tweet that I ever expected to see. I mean, sign her up for the Trump train. Sign her up to knock doors in Wisconsin or Ohio, right?
Something tells me, Yaku, she's not going to go that far.
No, I don't think so. But look, this is an endorsement for Trump. So somebody screenshot that tweet before it gets deleted, right?
Put it in a campaign ad.
And let's put it in a campaign ad and let's run it really, really hard. Let's tell the whole world that right now Omar is behind Trump, not Biden. You know, she hasn't said anything about it. But no, shocked me. Maybe a moment of clarity and sobriety. And let's give credit where credit is due because we're going to be fair. I'll take it. But like a good fighter, you can compliment me before the fight, but it doesn't change what we do in the ring, baby. We're still coming for you.
I like that analogy.
All right, we've got a lot more to come, but first we want to thank our sponsor, Keeps. So these guys sitting here at the table, they don't have anything to worry about because they got nice thick heads of hair. But some of you out there, women included, because it happens to everyone, both genders. Yes, there are only two, men and women. It happens to everyone. Maybe you're losing your hair and I don't know, you don't want to go to the doctor, especially if you're a man. You men don't go to the doctor to begin with. You never want to go to the doctor for anything, so you're not going to go to the doctor for this. Well, Keeps is here to help you out with that. Keeps offers a generic version of FDA-approved hair loss treatments. So also, they do it all online. You don't have to go to the doctor, like I said. You take a couple pictures of your hair, you send it in to Keeps, and they have a doctor who recommends the right treatment for you. Oh, and by the way, 66% of men, yes, 66% of men actually experience hair regrowth with Keeps. They're not just not losing their hair, they are regrowing their hair back. Keeps ships everything directly to your door, so especially very helpful in the time of like self-quarantine. You literally don't have to leave your house, just like President Trump is telling you not to do. You can follow the rules and also get something to help you keep your hair. You can go to keeps.com/Y. Get your first order of Keeps hair loss treatment 50% off. I said 50. You don't want to miss out on that. That is KEEPS.com/Y. keeps.com/Y. Well, we were just talking about people who were actually giving President Trump credit, and we were giving them, or at least her, Ilhan Omar, credit where credit is due for admitting when President Trump does something right. Well, I think she was just a handful of, well, maybe she's the only one. I don't know. Biden advisor Simone Sanders, not so much ready to give President Trump credit for anything. In fact, she just used this as an opportunity to call the president a racist, obviously. Watch.
A leader has to lead from the front. And so what President Trump came out and some of what he announced today was, it's a tough job, but it has to be done. And some of what he said today was good. But the reality is he also stood at the podium and called the coronavirus COVID-19 what I would suggest is a racial slur. It's something that is offensive to many Chinese Americans.
To call it a Chinese virus when it originated in China, why is that a problem?
It's something that is offensive. It is something that is offensive to many Americans. And so the reality is, instead of name calling, instead of pointing fingers, instead of talking about poll numbers,
let's be serious.
Let's just talk about what we can get done
here.
So if there is something that is offensive to someone, it is therefore a racial slur. I don't know that I follow that logic.
You know, I was watching this live last night, actually. My very first thought was it reminded me of the old controversy about the Washington Redskins name in the NFL. People, a lot of liberals getting their high horse. They say, oh my God, it's so offensive. They've done polling on this, okay? American Indians in the U.S., or Native Americans, whatever you want to call them in the U.S., they literally poll, like 95% of them couldn't give a you-know-what.
They don't care.
Like, they literally do not care at all. So I imagine if you polled like Chinese Americans, they similarly would feel about this. Because by the way, most Chinese Americans who are here, they despise the Chinese Communist Party. They literally came here because they were fleeing that horrific regime. It's the same thing for Cuban Americans in Miami. Of course they hate the Cuban government. Okay, anyway, there's actually a broader point here, and my column tomorrow is gonna hit on this. I don't want to give away the farm, but Joe Biden is uniquely vulnerable on the issue of China. Okay. Forbes magazine had an article last August where the headline was, Joe Biden is China's best chance to normalize 2020. Joe Biden has a decades-long history of kowtowing to the Communist Party there. He was very instrumental in getting the most favored nation trade status and kind of getting them into the World Trade Organization in the late 90s, early 2000s. His son Hunter famously accompanied him in 2013 on an ostensibly diplomatic journey to Beijing. What do you know? A few months later, Hunter gets on the seat of a highfalutin private equity firm in Shanghai, and now he has a 10% equity stake in said firm. They're literally capitalizing him. So Biden is very vulnerable on this issue. I think it's a great opportunity for Trump to reframe this election as a referendum on China, because his whole MAGA, anti-globalization, nationalism message plays directly into an anti-China platform, and Biden is uniquely vulnerable. So if Trump can make this election about China, he's in very good hands here, because the media, they are way out in front of their skis on this. Biden, way out in front of his skis on this. The median American is with Trump on that issue. They're not with Biden and the media.
Yeah, look, the interesting thing is Trump's popularity through this whole coronavirus thing has not gone down, number one. They've given him firepower. China gave him firepower. This started in China. It's the China virus. And it's the reason it's not an Asian American that made that statement on national news. Because they won't go back there for nothing. They won't defend that regime, and it's despicable what the left is doing, jumping on the China train. That's a laughable comment, okay? It's a futile attempt to sling mud and politicizing a crisis like this, which is so par for the left.
Well, I keep seeing too, and I have compassion for children, right? So when someone comes to me and they say, well, I have a child who is half Chinese and this hurts her. And I'm like, but we can't change the facts because it might be uncomfortable for your child to hear. I don't know if the child is really hearing it, but I mean, we can't change something every time it hurts someone's feelings. And again, I have compassion for kids, but I don't see people ganging up on Chinese Americans in the streets of the United States. I don't see that.
You're not looking hard enough.
Apparently not. I mean, I would love for someone to send me some sources, because I keep hearing this on Twitter, which I know is my first problem for actually paying attention to what's being said on Twitter. But I keep hearing this as like, well, tell that to all of the Americans who are beating up Chinese people. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And where were you when all of these Americans were beating up people with red hats in the streets?
I know, exactly, right? Yeah, they're trying to push a narrative. Maybe for that mom, it's a great opportunity to do some parenting.
Right.
Sit your daughter down and say, now listen, honey, it's not about you. Don't take this personally. The fact is, it did start in China.
Right.
Okay? That's just the facts. We have to stop changing the facts in this nation to placate to the 1% that are getting their feelings hurt.
Well, in good news, because we all need a little good news, right? Texas Governor Greg Abbott is now letting restaurants deliver alcohol with their food orders to boost sales amid coronavirus social distancing. So yesterday he issued an immediate waiver, and now restaurants only the ones with mixed beverage permits, they can deliver the alcoholic beverages with food purchases only. So beer, wine, and mixed drinks. What else is there to do when you're sitting on your couch? Am I wrong?
Sarah, I was literally laying on my butt on my couch at 9 p.m. last night, and I actually tried to get some whiskey delivered. I wanted to come ASAP because I was really kind of, I'm literally not exaggerating here. I was trying to get a rush delivered. The quickest they could get it was 8 a.m. like this morning. So I was kind of bummed out. But if I had known that they could deliver it with my dinner,
right,
I would have taken advantage of that. And you know what? I'm going to take advantage of it moving forward.
Well, I mean, because you look at it, it's a win-win. You're helping boost the economy, and you're also helping pass the time while you're sitting on your couch doing nothing. Yaku, I know you don't drink. So
look, I don't drink, but I'll tell you this. God bless Texas. I mean, look, there's a reason this is the #1 state in the nation. There's a reason this state works and California doesn't, because of these kind of inventive ways of thinking. What I don't know or understand is how do you make sure Billy, that's 17 years old, that's delivering pizza, is not delivering spirits now? I don't know. Are they carding you at the door? Surely somehow, something that I don't know if you know that, but I love the heart behind it to say, look, we're going to find ways to stimulate the economy. We're not going to sit and wallow in the virus. We're going to be proactive. So Texas, go Texas.
It's funny. You look at things that they do in the middle of something like a pandemic, where everyone's panicked and everyone's scared, and so for some reason everyone says, yes, let's give the government more power. And you look at paid sick leave and how, okay, if there's no sunset in this bill for paid sick leave for small employers to pay for, like, maybe we shouldn't be agreeing to this. And then you see stuff like this, and I'm like, I'm good with no sunset. I'm good. We can just keep doing this after the pandemic.
Why not? Though. People saying, hey, let this ride forever.
Why not just have this be a thing?
There was one tweet that said, I'm paraphrasing, there's Governor Abbott elected like for forever, right? Stay forever. Be governor forever with this kind of policy. No, I mean, it's good to laugh about something and see somebody thinking outside the box, like Abbott's done on many, many things. I mean, great governor, great state.
But the best governor we've had in my lifetime.
He's amazing.
For sure.
Yeah, he's amazing.
All right. Tulsi Gabbard is suspending her presidential campaign and endorsing Joe Biden. That's a lot to unpack, just that one sentence. We will do that after the break. But first, we want to thank our sponsor, NetSuite. So for all of you entrepreneurs out there, small business owners, I know it's a tough time right now for everyone, but something that you really will want to have in your life, especially once things start getting back to normal, is NetSuite. So we actually use NetSuite here at Blaze Media, and it helps us accelerate our growth. So what NetSuite does, and by the way, NetSuite is by Oracle, who I'm sure you guys all know. They are a very well-known, well-trusted program developer. So NetSuite actually, it gives you all of the different things, the different tools that you need for your company, to run your small business. You've got accounting, you've got inventory, you've got finance, HR, all of these different things that you're trying to look at. But if you don't see them under the same umbrella, you can't truly know your numbers. And if you don't know your numbers, you're not going to grow your business. That is where NetSuite comes into play. They have everything all under one umbrella. You can look at your true numbers and know that they are true numbers because they all are working together. You can also see it on the cloud. It is available on your phone, on your computer, wherever you're at. If you are traveling, as we know, if you're a small business owner, you're probably always on the go. If you are traveling, you can always get to it. Right now, you can schedule a free product tour. By the way, I mean, again, we're all just sitting on our couches. Now is the perfect time to schedule a free product tour. You will also get a free guide, 6 ways to run a more profitable business, which, I mean, if you love money, you might be interested in that. You can go to netsuite.com/Y. That is netsuite.com/Y. Tulsi Gabbard announced today that she is suspending her presidential campaign and endorsing Joe Biden, which is weird because, I mean, Tulsi was a former Bernie person. I mean, in 2016, she worked for Bernie. She, endorsed Bernie. And now all of a sudden, she's endorsing Joe Biden. Meanwhile, Joe Biden is holding online rallies, I guess you could call them. And honestly, honest to God, not saying this to be mean, does not seem to know what the hell is going on at any point in time of the day. Watch.
Thank you all. Thank you all for listening. Oh. Thanks. Thanks. Thanks.
Ah!
Okay.
Walk off. Joe. I can't. So that was obviously the end of one of his online rallies. I'm not sure if he still knows how the internet works. I'm not sure if he knows that is...
Record player.
Yeah, he seemed very surprised to see his wife. I don't know if he knew who she was. He seemed very startled, and he was waiting for like a standing ovation. I don't know, but he does not seem to be okay.
Joe Biden is not well out there. I mean, he's just not, he is not with it. And like, it kind of like, whether it's right or wrong to say, it doesn't matter. It's just like, it's a factual observation that I think everyone who's sane in America is collectively realizing that he is not fit right now. Tucker Carlson a few weeks ago, back when Bernie was kind of still in the race, had like well, I guess he's technically still in it, but back when he was really in the race, had like a Bernie,
he had a chance.
he had like a Bernie bro on the air just to kind of hammer home the point that Joe Biden is senile. So it's not just Republicans that are saying it. It was literally this Bernie guy who was on Tucker's program saying it. He is not with it. Tulsi is a bit of an enigma. I don't really know what to make of Tulsi Gabbard. She was like a very socially conservative Democrat about 15 years ago. She comes from like a very like idiosyncratic religious background back in Hawaii. She was really one of the last Democrats in like a major office to kind of switch on the marriage issue in particular. I think she was like pro-life a while ago too. So I don't know what to make of her. She obviously is very, very, very concerned about certain Middle East issues. She loves Bashar al-Assad in particular. I thought that might have led her to a Bernie endorsement this time. I don't really know what she's thinking, but I'll tell you one thing. The guy who was overseeing a lot of these drone strikes in Yemen, Joe Biden with Barack Obama, strikes me as a weird ideological fit for someone who is generally okay with mollycoddling like the Iranian and Russian regimes like Tulsi Gabbard is. I don't get it. Maybe you get a little better than I do, Yaku.
Two things. Let's start with Tulsi. I said it on the show. I really believe Tulsi's making a play for a VP bid. And Tulsi's not going to get it from Bernie. Biden said on the air, I'm going to pick a woman, and that whole controversy that came with that. I really think Tulsi that's why she hung on so long, and she's hoping and she's vying for a bid. She's flipped and flopped throughout, from being a soldier all the way to today, being pro-life at one point, then pro-choice, marriage. So that's crazy. Joe, though, has gone off the edge, okay, long time ago. And like I said off the air, watch Hunter Biden resurfacing. We're going to push on Hunter because Joe said the other day, Trump doesn't want to debate me. No, you're wrong, sir. We cannot wait.
That is an interesting theory, and I think I would buy it. Would you, Josh, that Tulsi, this is just a strategic move for her personally so that she can, come out getting something out of this? But it feels like if there was anyone in that entire, selection of the 10 million different candidates who first were the Democrat candidates, the presidential candidates, if there was anyone to not do something like that, it seems like it would be Tulsi. She seemed like she was really in it, knowing she didn't stand a chance because she wanted to do something about the Democratic establishment, about the Democrat Party, and now look how far she's fallen.
Yeah, I mean, my best guess is that she's probably just become bored with being a congresswoman. I mean, she's been there for a number of terms now. She probably is just like literally not interested in her job, which is probably why she ran for president in the first place. So yeah, she's probably cynically trying to get a cabinet position at worst, maybe vice president at best. I think Stacey Abrams is probably the front runner for the vice presidential tapping right now.
I agree. I agree with that. I think it's going to be Stacey. If not, Joe picking her by himself at the party saying, hey, this is... Or is the party finally
Yeah.
Getting Tulsi under their thumb, saying, "Hey, step in line here. You know, you're still in our party." You know.
No, we'll see. Yeah. So for those of you who don't like your ears bleeding, you may want to not tune in for this. But there were some celebrities who they wanted to do their part for what's going on with the coronavirus and the social distancing thing. So they decided to get together along with Gal Gadot and give you this beautiful rendition of this beautiful, timely song. Imagine, again, warning, if your ears are not going to like this. Watch.
I ran into this video of this Italian guy playing the trumpet in his balcony to all the other people who were locked inside their homes. And he was playing Imagine, and there was something so powerful and pure about this video. And it goes like this. Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try.
So we just changed keys.
No hell below us. Above us only sky.
Imagine all the people
living for today.
I mean, at least they are doing their part, helping the people make sense of all of this. I'm not sure that they've donated anything, but they sang.
Does it get any worse than self-aggrandizing celebrity types looking into a camera and singing one of the worst songs in the history of Western civilization? I mean,
no, Josh, it does not get any worse.
Let alone like in horrific musical fashion.
It was awful.
I mean, Sarah Silverman, like, oh my God.
Should not be singing.
Oh my God.
Should not be singing at all.
I mean, my like 90-year-old grandmother can do a better job than that, I think. But no, that's painful. It really kind of ruins Gal Gadot for me too. I mean, like every Jewish guy my age, I kind of love Gal Gadot. I mean, she's pretty hot, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, like, but like that was just terrible.
Yeah, Yaku, last word.
Look, it's about them.
Yep.
Not it.
Yep.
Last word.
All right, back in a minute.
So bad.
I know.
Oh, it goes on.
Yesterday's poll, will Bernie supporters vote for Joe Biden? 80% of you, 79.8, 80% of you said no, 20% of you said yes. Now, do you agree with this, Josh, first of all, that Bernie supporters will not vote for Joe Biden?
I think a large percentage of them will not support Joe Biden.
So do you think the ones that are not supporting Joe Biden, do they stay at home? Do they vote for Trump as a protest vote? Do they write in someone? That's what I'm trying to make sense of.
I think most will probably stay at home.
Okay.
But there will be some who will vote for Trump for sure.
Yeah. What do you think?
I agree. I think a percentage votes for of the portion that does not vote for Joe. I think probably 70% just say screw it.
Yeah, that's right.
They just want to see everything
and 30%
burned down.
says I'm still going to go anti-establishment, which is President Trump, who is doing a great job.
Absolutely right.
And then the question is, do they still burn Milwaukee down? I don't know. That remains to be seen. Today's poll, has the corporate media been irresponsible with the way they have covered coronavirus?
Oh, come on.
I mean, if anyone says no to this, just ship your ass to China, please. How about that? Josh?
I like that.
Do I even need to
If this poll result is anything less than 99-1, I question our audience right now.
Yeah.
Make us proud, guys. Make us proud, and don't retweet this to your liberal friends, okay, Yaku?
Terrible job. Horrific. The worst ever. I think before the show started, we said this is a new low.
Yes.
A record low.
Yes.
They're just breaking records in the wrong direction. This is the lowest. I mean, there's 10 feet of crap, and then it's the media.
And it's funny, too, because if they don't want to see President Trump reelected, you'd think that they would have the self-awareness to just shut up when they need to shut up. But apparently, they, as Yaku said, they can't help themselves. Thank you guys for being here. We'll see you tomorrow.